So what is a survivor? A survivor is someone who copes well with their difficulties. So what do you do when you feel like you're not coping well with a difficulty? Well, if you know me, I like to dumb it down. So what is Nikki? So currently Nikki's problem right now is I so here is my dream schedule of getting out of bed. I want to get out of bed and um, do take my medicine, do my devotions, exercise, eat my breakfast, and then go to work. However, Nikki, and I've talked about this before, has had trouble getting out of bed. So I've been going to bed earlier, like an hour and a half earlier. And so I managed to be awake and get out of bed. I've managed to take my medicine, eat, sometimes do my devotions, but I'm not exercised yet. And so I need to exercise, people, because I finally feel like I'm starting to get my eating under control, where I'm not eating the stuff that aggravates my skin issues. So Nikki's had to, what did Nikki do? She evaluated the situation, started going to bed earlier, and which is helping her get up earlier. So I have just started doing that. So what is something you're not coping well with in your life? So just dumb it down to the simple of simples. That's how I do everything. And it's because I get my attention deficit gets in the way, and then my anxiety starts rising up, right? So like normally all of this stuff I messed up on with the graphics and things, I would have done, just ended the recording and like, screw it, I'll just do it another day. But that's not what I'm doing here. The message is more important than whether or not I get my graphics up in a timely manner. I mean, I probably look like a complete idiot, but that's okay, because how are we going to cope with our difficulties? How do we cope well? I mean, so you may not start out coping well with a difficulty. When I first started doing this podcast, oh my Lord, it was horrible. It took me months to figure out, how do I get my podcast out on other platforms? That was the biggest stumbling block at that time. I wasn't even worried about whether my sounded good. I mean, that was beyond my comprehension at the moment. So I just needed to figure out, how do I get it out on other platforms? And one by one, I slowly figured it out. Some platforms are harder. They have more steps. But so now that difficulty, I would say I cope well with it now, because the last one that I got on was iHeart, I think it was. And that one, it's because usually the platforms will let you get on. You just fill out a form, send them your link, and then they A-OK, you're good to go. But some of them, like iHeart, they have to decide. Pandora is another one. I still don't think I'm on that one, and I've tried several times. It's just they only allow so many on at a time, and I think you have to be higher ranked. Well, we all know that I'm still kind of lower ranked. So, but if you subscribe to the podcast and go out and give me a review, then that will bump me up some more on the ranking list. So how do you cope well with a difficulty? Well, any difficulty is going to be hard. So what is your first impression? I mean, for me, I used to would get mad and just scream and holler. And most of the time, my family didn't even know what I was going on about. But I don't do that anymore. There are times where I will short circuit, and it's usually when I'm bombarded with a lot of stuff going on. Um, so I feel like I'm starting to cope better with some things. So just self evaluate, you know. Another thing that I like to do is write down. I do a brain dump where you just take a pad or paper and pencil and you just brain dump some stuff. And all you're doing is just getting those thoughts out of your head. And a lot of times it's just a bunch of words that is mumble jumble. That's all it is. And, but if you go back and look at it, like the next day, I'll go look at my list of words and I will see a pattern of something going on. And so that's where in my course I talk about you can flip that script. So you take those negative thoughts that were on that list and you turn it into a positive action. So it's a negative thought that you turn into a positive action. And so, that's how you learn to cope well with a difficulty. That's how you become a survivor. And that is something you have to make up your mind to do. And you have to do the work. I mean, sometimes I get scared because I feel like we've had it easy with technology that we have forgotten the art of manually doing something. And I'm talking to myself so hard right now because I feel like when I was going through a depression and I could not clean my house, I had too much stuff in my house. It was a mess. I was depressed. And so I felt like, well, if I got this gadget, it'll help clean my house faster. And then I won't have to do so much work. And then I'll be able to manage it. Do you know how many gadgets I got? It's ridiculous. Okay? The gadgets are fine. But Nikki needed to do the manual work. She needed to get the inventory out of her house, the stuff that she'd been packing around for years, that she hadn't even used, that she'd forgotten about. She had to get rid of it. And so that was one of the big things that I did to help get my home under control. And of course, I needed help. There was things I could not move by myself. I mean, there was big stuff. But I started doing that in 2020, and today I am almost done decluttering my entire house. And there are some rooms that are completely decluttered now, and it feels so nice. Everything has a place, and if it gets untidy, it only takes a few minutes to clean up. It doesn't take hours and hours, of my time. And then I don't want to do it because I get halfway through the job and I'm tired. I don't want to spend my days off organizing piles of clothes. So it was just making a decision to get rid of some of these things. So what is a survivor? Someone who copes well with their difficulties. Are you coping well with your difficulties? You're not? I wasn't. I mean, I don't know how you're doing it, but if you're doing it better than what I've been doing it, then you should be over here, me over there, listen, instead of talking. So if you're someone that needs help, reach out to me, ask a question. I am on social media. I get a lot of spam. These dudes, I don't know where they come from, but I think it's people just trying to get money off of me. But they're like all flirting, talking nice. And I'm just like, oh my Lord, not another one. Why can't there be a real person with a real need reach out to me? Right? So So if you're not coping well with your difficulties, simplify it. What is the problem? What is the root problem? Don't excuse it. I don't want to hear any excuses like, well, this happened to me because da 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 da. I don't want to hear any of that. The excuses is not going to get the problem solved. So if you're someone that likes to give out a bunch of excuses, just forget about it. We're not doing it. I'm not going to listen to it. It's not going to help you at all. Let's just look at the problem. You know, there's no pointing fingers. We're not going to say, I gained 50 pounds because my ex-husband, whatever. You know, that's stupid. So we're just going to deal with the problem at hand and what can we do in this moment to fix it, to start working on it, so we can start dealing well with coping well with our difficulties. So one of the things I mentioned was doing a brain dump. You just write down all the thoughts in your head. You just write until it's all out. Then the next day you go back and you review all the things you wrote down. You pick, usually I just pick one, like what is the top problem I'm dealing with this week. So you take a negative thought and you're going to turn it into a positive action, because that is the only way you're going to be able to start learning how to deal well with your difficulties. How are you going to cope with this? How are you going to do it? And I'm going to tell you what, since I've been doing more devotions in my time, just reading some Bible verses. I do listen to the Bible recap. The lady that does those is wonderful. And then on the Bible app, they have daily verses. They have someone who will read a verse and then talk about it. Those are wonderful too. And they're only the two together, maybe 10 minutes tops, but they're golden nuggets that you can think about for that day. And as you're working, or as something comes up, it comes to your mind, and I swear it's just been the best thing. So I strongly urge you to encourage you to get into those things. If you're struggling on how to be a survivor, just do those tips I've told you. If you're someone that is a phone person and you want to do the memo notes, if you have Google, they have the notes that you can keep. You can type in all of your thoughts in your head from there. But I'm going to tell you, the best thing is taking a paper, pencil, and writing it. Get your fingers out, grab that pencil and just write, or that pen and just write. So you're going to take a positive thought. Oh, Jesus. You're going to take a negative thought and turn it to a positive action. So, I think that's enough. I think I need to go. So I hope that you will like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll go to Apple iTunes and rate the podcast. That lets me know how well I'm doing. And like I said, I got 2 reviews last week. I thought I better go play the lottery. I might just win. So anyway, I hope you all have enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again next time. Bye.